I am making a video. Hopefully my phone is gonna let me record this whole thing because I have been having so many issues with storage, but we're gonna try it. I had my photo shoot today for my book and it was the most fun day ever. I just absolutely loved it and I felt so grateful to just finally get to do it. But while I had a full face of makeup and hair still done, even though it's very faded, since it's the end of the day, but I figured why not make a video now. So I kind of just wanted to talk through a few different things, so kind of like my process behind writing the book, why I decided to write it, the process behind kind of like what it took to actually write it, and then a little bit more about the book without giving like tons of stuff away. So basically I started this process like I think 4-ish years ago. I was trying to think about it today and I was like, gosh, I think it's been like 4.5 years from like the very first time that I actually started writing it. I don't even remember honestly when I decided like that I wanted to write a book at some point, but I was like, yeah, I think I would just love to do that. And then truthfully, when I was sitting in ministry school one day, one of the pastors was like, hey, like pretty much there was like, I don't know, maybe like 1,000 people in the room, and he was like, how many of you either want to write a book or feel called to write a book? And more than half the room raised their hand. And he was like, okay, great, but most of you never will. And he was like, it's not because you don't have something to say, it's not because like it wouldn't be impactful, but it's because most of you won't actually take the time to sit and discipline yourself enough to write it. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, I actually need to write this. Like I actually need to make time to write this. And so when I initially got started, I didn't really know what I wanted to write about. I knew I wanted to write something like faith related and something that was going to impact people, and also share my story like throughout it, but I didn't honestly know what that was going to look like. And so I very like loosely started writing, kind of just like writing down a bunch of different ideas, either stories or things in my life that I thought might be impactful, and kind of just like, I don't know, what is the right word, like brainstorming pretty much. And so I started writing and then maybe wrote like here and there for a few months and then pretty much just like put it down and stopped. I don't honestly remember why. I just stopped writing. I think life just got like busy and I just put it down. And then fast forward about a year later, I was hanging out with a friend and she was like, hey, I'm gonna call one of our mutual friends that we know, and I'm actually gonna ask him if he would pray over you, but I'm not gonna tell him that it's you on the other end of the phone. So she calls him and she's like, hey, like we have someone here that you know, I'm not gonna tell you who it is, I just want you to pray over her and see kind of like if the Lord gives you anything. So he basically started, and at this point, keep in mind, nobody knew that I was writing a book, like truly nobody. And so long story short, he basically like starts praying and he's just like, I feel like you either have started to write a book or you are going to write a book. And he was like, and the Lord's saying it's like now, like you need to finish it now and actually like start writing again. And what's so crazy is 2 days prior, I was literally praying about that. I was like, God, like, should I start writing again? I don't know. I kind of like put it down, forgot about it. And so basically from that point, I started writing again, kind of like here and there, not super consistently. And then COVID happened and we were basically all locked up with not a lot to do. And so I basically decided to take that time and just write. And what I will say, like if there's one thing I could say, if you want to write something, write even when you do not feel like it. Like actually set aside times to write. And there are definitely times like writer's block is a very real thing. So there are times I had to be like, I need to take a break. Like my brain is literally blocked, nothing is coming. I just need to take a second. But like actually schedule it in and make time to be like, I'm gonna dedicate 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, to actually just like write. And a lot of those sessions for me were kind of just like brainstorming at first. And so don't be afraid to just make it like messy, to just brainstorm a ton of stuff, to not get it perfect, because it is going to take a long time to even make it something that you're like ready to put out. And so that was pretty much like my process in like that part of it. And so I finished it about I think 2 years ago, but financially just didn't have the means to do it, and there was just a lot of other kind of like moving pieces to it, and so I pretty much like put it on hold, but it's been finalized for about 2 years. So it is a long time coming. I am so excited. And yeah, so I guess a little bit too about like kind of the process behind it too. So I feel like I've learned so much truly with like editing, and even just like getting like photographers, and then getting like formatters, and whether you do traditional publishing or self-publishing, like there is truly so much that I didn't know. And one thing about me that I am being humbled in real hard in this is I am a perfectionist, like to my absolute core, a lot of times to a downfall. I am a perfectionist, and it doesn't necessarily come out in everything that I do like outwardly, but internally my mind is constantly thinking like that. And so for me, the idea of putting anything out that like isn't perfect scares the actual hell out of me. And so it's really stopped me for so long to put out anything, because in the back of my head I've been like, well, this is just gonna suck. Like I don't mean that in a like downplaying myself kind of way, but truthfully, like even with this book, as excited as I am about it, and as much as I know like it's gonna impact people, I also think so big picture, and I'm like, well, 5 years down the line, when I write another book, like this is not going to be the best book that I've ever written. And again, like I don't mean that in a like downplaying it at all, but it's just true. Like the longer you do something, you are hopefully going to get better at that like craft and honing in on that skill. And so it's just like the reality of putting something out there for the first time, that it's like, this is the best that I can do right now at this current state, with the resources that I have, with what I know. But of course, 5, 10, 15 years down the line, I would love for it to be even better, for my writing to have improved so much. And so I have really had to kind of humble myself and just be like, it is not going to be the best thing that I've ever done, and that's okay. And it shouldn't be. Like if this was like the peak of my writing, and 30 years later I'm like, well, that was the peak, it's like, well, that's not great. You didn't really learn or grow or anything from that. And so that's just kind of been like a little bit of like my personal struggle that I've had throughout this process. And I'm really just having the Lord kill a lot of fear in me. Even just putting out my story, you guys, like this is, I think it honestly hit me probably maybe 2 weeks ago when I was like reading through the book again. I was just like, gosh, like this is so vulnerable. Like no joke, it is my story, and while I don't share everything, and I don't share everything like in crazy detail, but it is my story, and it is vulnerable, it is real and honest and raw. And truthfully, I think that's the thing that people are going to connect with a lot. I think I think my passion really comes through for the Lord and what he's done in my life, and my passion for you guys to experience that same kind of freedom and wholeness and just fulfillment and joy from a life with Jesus and walking with him. And so it is very vulnerable. I definitely feel like my heart is a bit exposed as I put this out into the world, but I am so excited for it. I've mentioned this before, but it's called Relentless Pursuit, and the premise behind it pretty much is like, when I when I sat down, I was like, what is my, like, if I could say one thing, if I could sum up my life in one kind of, I don't know, like sentence, theme, like what would it be? Like, what would my life speak to? And it basically just boiled down to like, God has pursued me from the very beginning, before I even trusted in him in the worst parts of my life. And that's something I kind of go into in the book, but like that's something I struggled with and questioned for a long time. Like the things that happened to me and the things that were really harmful and hurtful for so long. I was like, okay, God, like where were you in that? Like, were you even there? Like, did you care? Did your heart break for me in the middle of that? And truthfully, seeing how he pursued me even in those moments, in the moments where I made horrible decisions, in the moments where things were done to me that was devastating and harmful, like he was in all of that, and he was pursuing me in every single area of my life, in every single moment of my life. And that is, if there's one thing I want you guys to take away from this book, it's that God is relentlessly pursuing you. Like he does not wait for you to pursue him first. That is just not reality. It is, he pursues you in just hopes that you will pursue him back, but it will not stop his pursuit of you. And that is the whole premise of this book, and it is weaved all throughout my testimony. And so there's a lot of things in there that I share that I feel like are really relatable. And so even honestly, whether you believe in Jesus, whether you don't, like I think there is something in there for every single person. It speaks to so many different things in life that I feel like people can truly glean from and pull on. And honestly, I want people to know that they are heard, that they are seen, that their story matters, that it matters to God, that it matters to people around them, that they are not alone. And so that is the point of this book. And again, I am just so excited to have it out there. So thankful that you guys care, and so thankful that you followed up until this point. I might do a little video too, just asking like if anyone has any kind of questions I can dive into more. This is just kind of like a general video, but I would love to dive into more questions if you guys had any. And definitely will be sharing updates more so towards the release date, which the release month is March. The date could change, so I'm not going to give a date right now, but the month is March. And I am, again, I feel like I could say excited so many times. I truly feel like I am living in a promise that God has given me, and I'm so insanely grateful for all of this so far, and just what it's meant in my own life. And just to share a little something too, like my process with this, just so you guys know, like truthfully, I care so much about this, and it's not even because I'm like putting out something that it's like, oh, you know, I'm making money off of or whatever. Like truthfully, the Lord asked me to do this, and it wouldn't honestly matter to me if like I didn't make a cent off of this. That's not the point. Like the point is I wanted to be obedient to what he asked me to do. And if this impacts one person, then truthfully, like all of this is worth it. And when I say that this matters to me so much, like truthfully, I have literally taken time to read this entire book again. One, because I wanted to make sure that it still spoke to me, that it was still like relevant and authentic to me, where I'm currently at in the season of my life. And truthfully, even as I read it, it was so healing to me. And the biggest reason I wanted to read it again was because when I read through every single chapter, I took it and I took it that time seriously to pray over every single chapter, to pray into every chapter, to pray over every single person that was going to be reading it. And so just know that this book is literally saturated in prayer. Like it is covered in prayer. And I did my piece with it, but truthfully, once it's out of my hands and it's sent out to you guys and sent out into the world with whoever grabs it, like, it is the Holy Spirit's job to speak to you. It is the Holy Spirit's job to bring freedom and convict and encounter you and bring his presence. And that is what I'm excited for. I'm excited that I got to do my part, and then it's on him. He gets to encounter you and just give his presence. And I would love to do a whole video maybe talking more about like the creative process at some point, because that was truly the coolest thing for me, like just doing that with the Lord and not even knowing sometimes like what I was gonna say or how to say it or anything like that, and him literally just speaking, giving insight, was like the most incredible thing to partner with him and do, and I absolutely loved it. So I would love to do a whole other video just answering questions that you guys had, but for now I wanted to keep this video kind of short and just wrap it up. But just know I am so excited. I know I have said that like 1,000 times, but I am so excited and just so thankful you guys have followed along up until this point, and I'm just really hopeful for everything that's to come with this, and yeah, just really grateful. So thanks so much for all the love and support already. I feel very supported and yeah, just encouraged and loved by just DMs and messages so far, and I'm so excited to show you guys more. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to talk to you soon. Okay, bye.